Welcome back to the next episode of configuring NMS Prime. So last time we stopped here at the NetGateway analysis page, and you saw that we can, at least in this case, see the upstream values which are retrieved via SNMP. What you don't see down below here are any graphs on Cacti. So what we need to do now is go into Cacti and add some diagrams such that they will be retrieved from now on and will be shown in here. Therefore, we'll have to go to, on the left, to our external apps, in this case Cacti. You can click on it and you are greeted with the login view. The default credentials are admin for both the password and username. So we can use this, and of course we should change it right away. So therefore we go to configuration, we go to users, we have here our guest account, which is only used to display something within NMS Prime, and it doesn't have a valid password, so no one can log in as a guest. And secondly, we have an admin password, and of course here we should change this. So I'm going to change this to admin1234. Of course you should use something else, but I'll do it for now. I save it, and now it's okay. So the next thing, when we add a CMTS in our net gateways, so over here, if you add something, which we did before, in the background we also populate this in Cacti. So if you go to Management, Devices, you will see that there's exactly this CMTS is created here. The status is unknown since we didn't retrieve any metrics via SNP yet. So if you click on it, you can see that the sys description, the host name, location and contact and so on, we were able to retrieve this, and also the uptime via Cacti. So the communication works between the NMS Prime server and in this case Cacti and CMTS, so this is fine. What we can do now is we can use the create graphs for this device button to add some new graphs. You can see currently we don't have any items found, so we need to click here on this button to retrieve the values via SNMP, and we do the same down below here. So you see we have two windows. The upper one is for the upstreams, and the lower one, which we defined ourselves. So in this case we have predefined graphs for upstream, which consists of the upstream SNR, the upstream power, and some other counters. And down below we have the normal if interface map graphs. So we typically use this for the downstreams and possibly also for the Ethernet interfaces or bundle interfaces or whatnot. So in order to add the upstream channels, we may search just for upstream here to have a filtered view. And there you can see. And this corresponds, as you can see here, with our clusters test US 0 to 3 and bundle 2 US 0 to 3, which is not in use, as you can see. And you can see all the IDs here, basically, of the SNMP table, and which correspond here very well to what we see in Cacti. So we may want to add all of them right now, like this, and just do create. And now from now on, these upstreams will be retrieved every 5 minutes, the values, and then they will be shown in diagrams. We also may look at the downstreams. So let's have a look to downstream here. But for this we need to go down below here. And here you can see the downstreams. We should choose the ones of type other and just add all of those. So we can do this here, create. Okay. And now if you go to graphs, you will see that there is one for, or there's this chose our CMTS, and you can see currently we have added 8 and more 8, and of course right now we don't see them because every 5 minutes this is being run. So this may need some time. I mean, right now it's the 5 minutes are just over, so it should soon, if we go to the logs, we may see that there will be some stuff coming up in the, here you can see we have our RDs retrieved, so maybe it already works. Yeah, you can see right now the first graphs are appearing. You may not see much yet. Let's have a look. It probably only works in the next update cycle, so I'll come back to this once we have some real data. So while we wait for cacti to get some metrics via SNMP and populate the diagrams, what we can already do is setting up a new NetElement type. This is a template which determines what kind of OIDs should be queried and should be able to be set when we go to our SNMP controlling. SNMP controlling is a module provided by us with which you can build your own graphical user interface based on retrieved data via SNMP. So to do this, we first go to detect and to MIP files, and you can see here I already uploaded two MIP files. First the DOCSIS interface MIP and also the normal interface MIP. Basically what you need to do is we already provide some MIP files, and you can find them in user share SNMP MIPs. You can see there are already some available here. Some are provided by the DOCSIS tool, for example all the docs MIPs, and others are just created or provided by the NetSNMP package. So we need, in this instance, the docs if MIP and the normal if MIP, and you can download them from our provisioning server and then upload them by just clicking on plus and uploading them here. And if you hit save, you can see that they are internally processed, and then if you click on them, you can see that many OIDs are now available here. So what we're going to do now is I want both the upstream and downstream channel table as my controlling view. So I'm going to NetElement types, and you can see I just have the Net Gateway, which we used before for our CMTS. But now, since I want to control it and get some data or potentially also save some data to it, I will create a new type up here. We call it CMTS because this is, and we don't set the vendor because this is just a generic CMTS controlling view, since we're only using the default Cable Labs OIDs. So I don't need this. Just for clarity, I'm going to put this below the Net Gateway. I don't need any pre-configuration settings. This is some devices you may need to send an OID first to make it ready to be configurable and to save something to it. And then after you're done, you may need to send another OID, and this can be done with the pre-configuration settings here. Since this is not the case, we don't need this, so I'm going to save right away. So now I created a new NetElement type, and now I can assign some parameters to it. The two parameters I'm interested in are the DOCSIS if downstream channel table. So let's look for this one here. And the second one is the DOCSIS if upstream channel table. That's basically all I need, and now I can attach it already. And now I can say I want my NetElement, the CMTS, to be of a new type. And I can do this by just saying this is not a Net Gateway anymore, but now this is a CMTS. Like this. I save it. And now you can see in my NetElement types, I have a new type CMTS. And here you can see now this CMTS is part of this type. So now we reassigned the template from Net Gateway to CMTS. And what you will see now, if we go back to our network down below here and click on the CMTS, you will see that the metrics are now automatically pulled from the CMTS. You can see basically all the metrics, and there are, of course, there are more, and you don't see all of them here. I mean, if you zoom out, you may see some more, but this, of course, might be a little bit overwhelming. So maybe you're just interested in some of the metrics and not in all of them. For example, you may not be interested in the interleave. To adjust this, what you can do is you can go back to your template where we define the downstream channel table, and now we want to narrow this down, what kind of columns we're interested in. And this can be done here using the sub-OIDs. So you go assign sub-OIDs, and I have an example here already. So I might be interested in a channel ID. So let's do channel ID for the downstreams, of course. I'm currently at the downstreams. I'm interested in the frequency. Downstream frequency. I want the modulation. I want the channel power. I want the if alias, so basically the name of the interface. I want the channel width, downstream of course, and I want the NX. Now I can say attach OID, and now you can see all of them here. So if I now go back to my CMTS, and this may fail now, but you will see soon why. If I click on it, you see I get an error first off, but now I only see what I'm really interested in. But you can see there are some more interfaces shown here which I'm not really interested in, so I should remove them. So, you know, these are not really DOCSIS channels, and so, for example, you see some upstream channels here which don't have these parameters available. So I should now narrow down this to 1297 till 1304. So to do this, let me just copy this one really quick to 1304. So how to do this? I go back to my CMTS template. I go to my channel table. Actually, no, I don't go back to my template. I go to my actual CMTS. So I go to the NetElement. And now I can say what kind of indices am I interested in. So I can click here, because every CMTS is different. So you also need different indices for different CMTSs. That's why we don't set it in the template, but in the actual CMTS. So here you say, okay, I want the downstream channel table. And now I basically will say, I want from 1297, 98, 99. So you have to comma separate this basically. 1300, 1301, 1302, I think 1303, and 1304. Like this. I can save it. And now if I go back to my CMTS, you will now see I only see these 8 entries and I don't get any error. And I can do the same now for the upstreams. So I go back to my template now, because the template defines what columns I'm interested in. So I go to my upstream channel table, and here again I can define columns. So I go here, and now I have another example here, which is telling me what I'm all interested in. So I want the if alias, I want the if name, I want my signal noise, SIG-Q signal noise. I want the input power level, which is not available. So maybe I need another OID. I want the channel frequency, in this case the upstream. I want the SIG-Q uncorrectables, SIG-Q uncorrectables. Oops, not the unerrods. The SIG-Q uncorrectable. Also the corrected. I want the unerrored as well. Okay. Unerrored. The cable modem active, which doesn't exist, so I need another MIB file. I need the modulation profile and the upstream channel direction. I need the width, upstream width. I need the frequency, up channel frequency, which I already have. Let me check. In this case it's twice, so this is really redundant. And the width I already had as well, so I don't need this. Okay, so let's scrap this. You can see it's upstream, and the SIG-Q stuff. So I can attach them. And now again, I can go back to my CMTS. Look at this. And here I get another error, because again here I'm getting some interfaces which don't really belong to the downstream channels of DOCSIS. So what I will do is I will say I want from 1529 to 1556. So I go to my actual CMTS. And you will see there's actually a jump, so let me just write this down. So I want from this to here, and then from here to here, like this. So I go to my CMTS, I go to indices, I go to to downstream, yes, and I go from 29, 30, 31, 32, and then I want to go from 1553, 54, 55, and 56. I'm going to save it. Let me have a look. I did the downstream, so now of course I should do the upstream. Save it. So now as you can see, both for downstream and upstream I have something defined. If I now go back to the controlling page, you will now see what needs to be seen. Of course, you know, some of the metrics are not available yet. We'll figure this one out along the way, but this is just an idea to get you an idea how to change this. And of course I could also now change, for example, I could change the name of the column if I really wanted to. I could do this via the template. So if I go to CMTS and I go to my upstream channel table and I want the up channel frequency, so this one, I want this, I go basically in here, and here I can give it a name, and now I can just call it, let's say, upstream frequency, maybe in megahertz, or actually it's not megahertz, I think it's in, let me look, this is in hertz, so let's do it in hertz, save it, and if I now refresh, you should see that this name is changing. Right, you can see now upstream frequency in hertz. So this is just, as I said, some examples what can be done with the system. And now the next thing we may want to do is to filter this table once more for certain clusters. So let's say we are in Chemnitz, and of course if I click on the NetGW, I want to see all the downstreams and the upstream provided by the CMTS. But if I go to a certain cluster, for example this one, I'm possibly not interested in all the down and the upstreams. For the downstreams possibly, because maybe I have this whole downstreams for all the clusters, but for the upstreams I only have a certain subset of it. To do this, I can go to Edit, and I can have a look here again at the indices. And so if we go to our CMTS, you saw these indices here, right? And so for the downstream, I just want to see everything. So I'm not going to add an indices for downstream, or I could, of course I could. I could do the same as it was before. So let's go to my CMTS, which we have here. And here's my CMTS. And so I'm going to add a downstream channel table with all these IDs. But now for the cluster. So I have a downstream channel for the cluster called Chemnitz cluster, and I'm going to set the indices here because I want to see all the downstream channels. At the same time, if I go back, I can also do one for the upstream. So let's go to upstream channel table. And now if I look at, sorry, where am I? Here. If I look at the upstream ones, you saw I have all 8. But now I'm only interested in the first 4. So I'm just saying I want to see those. I'm going to put them here, both again upstream channel table. So I'll save it. And now if I go to my overview, again if I click on NetGateway, I see 8 by 8, 8 downstream, 8 upstream. But if I go to my cluster, you see now I have 8 by 4. So in this case you can very nicely filter per cluster what kind of OIDs are retrieved. And again, since getting data via SNMP from the CMTS may take some CPU cycles on the control plane on the device, and sometimes the CPUs on the CMTSs are not quite that capable. We have implemented such a system that no matter how many people are on this page now, for example, on the same CMTS, on the same controlling page, or maybe on the same cluster, we get this OIDs just once and then push them via WebSockets to all the users. So this is very scalable with respect to how many people are on the same controlling page at one time. And at the same time, if you go now to the diagrams, I think Cacti is not yet that far to display some stuff. But if we can click here on the NetElement diagrams now, you will see that we are only seeing the upstream 1, 0, 1, 2, and 3, and we see all the downstreams. Whereas, so we can see basically 1, 2, 3 upstreams and 8 downstreams. And at the same time, if I look at now the whole CMTS, so if I click here, and now on the diagrams, you can see I get 0, 1, 2, 3, and then from bundle 2, 0, 1, 2, 3. So I see all the upstream, and then so 8 and also 8 downstreams. So this way you can see that based on the indices we set, we also filter the diagrams here. And you can see there are already some data coming in. So if we say like the last 3 hours possibly, we should see that now this is zoomed in and we already get the upstream SNR. We get the utilization in percent, which is basically 0%, and we also get the upstream power at the CMTS, which should be 0, and it is 0. So you can see the data is coming in. So this way you can set both by setting the indice here. You can set both what is shown in the controlling page as well as the diagrams here. So much for this, and yeah, see you next episode.